Hey guys, so today we're going to be talking about the brand new Tom Ford Shade and Illuminate Face and Eye Palette in Moonlit Violet. This is the third of the face palettes that I have purchased, and I've done reviews of the first two, Rose Cashmere and Red Harness. So those are up. I will link to those videos down below if you're interested. So this is what the Moonlit Violet palette looks like. So I'm going to be showing you some swatches, giving you my thoughts on this palette, and then doing this demo. So let me just go ahead and jump into the details of this palette. I purchased this off of the Tom Ford site when they released it a few weeks ago at this point. It is $155, same price as all of the other face palettes, and it's sold out on his site very, very quickly. And I've heard that they are going to be popping up at retailers like Nordstrom, Neiman Marcus during the month of May. So hopefully they'll be popping up at retailers soon so you guys can get your hands on them. I've been getting a lot of questions about when these are actually going to be arriving in store, hopefully very, very soon. So all of the face palettes have like a highlighter, a bronzer contour color, and then 4 shades in the center there for your eyes. All of the 3 new face palettes have this beautiful baked formula. These eyeshadows are the Tom Ford Wet Dry eyeshadow formula, which is really, really stunning, really beautiful. I have talked about them endlessly on this channel, so I'm not going to go on, but I really do love the formula and I love the shadows. I love the effect that it gives your eyes. There's a shimmer without any like glitter, and there's pigmentation, but it's not overbearing. They just always strike the right note for me. I just really, really love these shadows. And then these 2 products are baked as well, and I have been really, really loving them. In this palette, in the Red Harness, in the Rose Cashmere, absolutely love them. So why don't I go ahead and show you some swatches of this palette here. So first I swatch the highlight, and then the bronzer slash contour is right next to it, and then we have the 4 eyeshadows. And if for whatever reason you missed my 2 other videos on the Rose Cashmere and the Red Harness, here are swatches of those if you're curious. So here is Rose Cashmere, and again, highlight, bronzer, and then the 4 eyeshadows. And here is Red Harness. Again, highlight, bronzer, and the 4 shadows. They've given these palettes like intensities. So Rose Cashmere is intensity 0.5, Red Harness is intensity 1, and this Moonlit Violet is intensity 2. So in terms of the intensity numbers, the only product I feel like kind of follows this 0.5, intensity 1, and intensity 2 kind of standard is the bronzer contour. This color has been steadily getting a little bit deeper from the first one, but this highlight is very, very light. It's very, very bright. It's what I have on my cheeks here. Because it's a baked formula, I do think that there's a little bit of sheerness, so it matters a little bit less what your skin tone is, because your skin tone is going to kind of shine through, and it's just going to give an effect to whatever skin tone it lays over. But it is a very light and a very bright highlight. And then we have the eyeshadow quad here, which I think, you know, would work on any skin tone. So just like the other palettes, I really, really enjoy these face palettes. They're beautiful. The quality is impeccable. I absolutely love the cheek products. I love these baked products because they go on in such a sheer way. Again, I'm definitely repeating myself from the other 2 videos that I've done on the other 2 face palettes, but I just love this baked formula so much. They go on really, really smoothly. They blend out beautifully. They meld into your skin. It's almost like they kind of like melt a little bit, and they start to kind of blend themselves in, and the formula is just impeccable. You definitely have to use like a firmer, denser brush to pick up these products because they are baked. They won't pick up with like a really super soft kind of brush. So you'll see in my demo that I use a lot of my Sonia G natural hair brushes in here. Works beautifully with these products. And when it comes to purple eyeshadow, I haven't always had the best luck. I feel like purple eyeshadows are a little bit hard to do. I feel like I've come across a dud in like a Pat McGrath palette, that 6-pan La Vie en Rose, the purple shade in that one I didn't like. And then when Tom Ford came out with the badass quad, the quad that came in the chrome packaging, I didn't like those shades, and that purple shade I thought was very, very disappointing. So I was kind of like on high alert when I was using this shade, and it doesn't disappoint. It goes on beautifully. It goes on very pigmented. It blends out nicely. And before today's demo, I played with this palette once before, and I didn't notice any kind of wearing away or any fading with these eyeshadows, which is fantastic and also to be expected. I do find that the Tom Ford Wet Dry eyeshadow formula has always been just really, really top notch. I've never had fading problems. I never have fallout problems. and they just go on like so, so beautifully. So before we jump into the demo, I'm gonna go ahead and do some comparison swatches, and I wanted to do some comparison swatches for this bronzer contour first. So here is the bronzer from the face palette, and then this is the glow bronzer in Terra. And I find them to be both fairly neutral, just the undertone is a little bit different. This has more of a golden undertone, and the Terra has a little bit more of a red undertone. All right, so next I want to compare it to the bronzer that's in the Rose Cashmere face palette right here, and also the bronzer that's in the Red Harness face palette. So here we have the Rose Cashmere, this is the Moonlit Violet, and then here is the Red Harness bronzer. So the Red Harness bronzer is actually much warmer than the Moonlit, but I wouldn't say it's that much lighter. I would say they're kind of like equal in deepness. This one is just a little bit warmer. And then the Rose Cashmere is obviously much lighter. Next, I'm gonna compare it to the Clinique Flower Pop bronzer and also the Kosas bronzer in medium. So here we have the Clinique, and then here is the Moonlit Violet, and then this is the Kosas in the medium. So the Kosas is much warmer, as you can see, and then the Clinique is a little bit lighter and has a much stronger kind of peachy tinge to it. All right, next let's go ahead and do some comparison swatches for the highlighter in the face palette. So first I'm just going to compare it to the other two face palettes. So I'm gonna compare it to the Red Harness highlight and the Rose Cashmere highlight. So here we have the Rose Cashmere highlight, then this is the Moonlit Violet, and then here is the Red Harness highlight. They're all quite different. Moonlit Violet, you'll hear me talk about this in the demo. I just love how icy it is, but there's still this like teensy bit of peachy undertone that keeps it from looking like too silvery and too stark on the cheeks. Oh, it's such a beautiful tone. And then we've got that warm undertone in the Red Harness. And then we have that really beautiful golden, like white, light golden sheen to the Rose Cashmere highlight. So next I'm going to compare it to the Clinique Flower Pop highlighter in Lunar Pop. And these are actually very, very similar. The top forward one, I want to say, has like a little bit of a higher shine, but the like tone to them are very similar. They're both like on the cooler side, but because they have that peach undertone, really keeps it like very, very wearable without it looking too stark on the cheeks. So very, very close there. And then I had to compare it to the Hourglass Ambient Metallic Strobe Lighting palette. So here is the Moonlit Violet shade, and these are the 3 shades from the palette. So none of the tones are an exact match, but I find like the reflectiveness, the quality of like the metallic is very, very similar, even though the formulas are completely different. Like these are like a pressed, more of a pressed powder than the Tom Ford. All right, so before we jump into other Tom Ford quad comparisons, on my last live stream, someone asked me to compare the 4 shades in this face palette to this Chantecaille Cool Eyeshadow Quad. So that is first up, and here we have the 4 shades in the face palette, and then here are the 4 shades from the Chantecaille Quad. So the Chantecaille Quad is a little bit like brighter and pinker in tone. The formula is also very different. The Chantecaille is like creamy, kind of pressed powder shadows. There's like a duochrome in there. And again, these are all of those like baked, wet, dry shadows. Okay, first up is the Badass Quad. And again, I've got the face palette quad here, and then here is Badass. So Badass is a lot more dramatic. It's deeper. I personally also don't think these perform on the lids that nicely. They swatch really nicely, but they don't perform that nicely. This next quad is the one that immediately came to mind, but now that I look at it, it is quite different. But this is the Daydream Quad. These are of the wet dry formula. So there are those swatches, the palette, and the quad. So quite different. Next up is the Pretty Baby Quad. I love this quad. This is not of the wet dry formula. This is more of like the pressed powder formula, but this one is so pretty. Let me show you. So here is the Pretty Baby Quad. Look at this shade right here. It's like this incredible duochrome. It's just gorgeous. But there it is next to the face palette quad, and this, the Pretty Baby in general, I mean, aside from this shade, is much pinkier and warmer toned than the face palette quad. So this quad, the Virgin Orchid quad, it's not even really close, but I thought, why not? Let's just go ahead and swatch it. But this is like much pinkier in its story versus purple. So again, the face palette quad, and then here's Virgin Orchid. These two colors are actually pretty similar. And like the feeling of the quads are kind of the same. It's just the tones are different. This is definitely much cooler in tone. So that is it for the comparison swatches. Let's go ahead and jump into the demo. All right, I'm gonna go into the bronzer shade, contour shade, and I'm gonna use my Sonia G Sculpt 1 brush. All right, there's the bronzer shade applied. It makes for such a beautiful contour. Bronzer definitely is on the more neutral side, but really, really lovely. And I took out two Tom Ford blushes. I have Wicked and Gratuitous. So Wicked is like a very neutral, bright pink color. And then Gratuitous is like a cool kind of plum color, but has a beautiful sheen. I think I want to try this color. I didn't know if I wanted to be like matchy-matchy with my eyeshadow. I really like the cool tone to this, so I think I am going to use this one. Let me grab my Sonia G Cheek Pro brush. Brush this towards the back, and maybe I'll use that pink kind of just as a pop on the apples of my cheeks. Yeah, so there is Gratuitous. And then I'm going to use Wicked, just very, oh God, too much. And just do a little boop right on the apples of my cheeks, just to brighten it up a little bit. And then I'm gonna take that Sculpt 1 brush and just kind of buff over. I just wanna make sure it's all kind of blended together nicely. Back to the face palette, let's go ahead and dive into this highlighter. I'm going to use my Sonia G Sculpt 2 brush, and I'm just gonna lay that down. Oh, these highlighters are so, so beautiful in all three of the face palettes. Oh God, that highlighter is so good. All right, those are the two cheek products applied. So let's move on to the eyeshadows. I'm going to predominantly use these two colors. They're the most purple. This is a very purple tone palette. So I'm gonna go ahead and use my Sonia G Worker 1 brush. And I'm gonna start with the lighter shade, the lilac shade up top. And I'm gonna brush this all over. And I'm brushing this like on the inner portion of my lid, and I'm bringing it way up close to my eyebrow here. And then just making sure I'm blending that out. Then I'm gonna go into the purple shade and start that on the outer edge here and bring it in. I love the deepness of this color, like it's really sitting in a lot of black. All right, and then let's grab, not that. Then I'm gonna grab my Sonia G Pencil 1 brush. I'm gonna go into the lightest shade here and add that to the inner corner. Isn't that so pretty? It's like liquid metal. And then next I'm going to take my Sonia G Smudger 2 brush, and I'm going to use it to line my eyes with the deepest shade here. All right, so that is the whole palette applied. I'm gonna go ahead and finish up my makeup and I'll be right back. All right, so here is my final look. I'll have all the details of what's on my face down below in my description box. I think I said everything I wanted to say before I did the demo. So thank you so much for tuning in. Leave me any of your thoughts, comments down below in the comments section. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Subscribe down below if you haven't already, and I'll see you in my next video.